Good evening and welcome to a new episode of your show, What's Happening? Today is Monday. 27, 27, 26, 27, July 2026, and also today is 3, 27, 26, 26, 26, 26, 26. The magic of the month of prices in 7 times for you, and we spoke a lot in this program that many studies have linked the occurrence of earthquakes and tremors to the month. Subscribe to the channel. The month, the nature of the months, the lunar months, the month. It's not the main reason, but during the middle or the beginning of the lunar months, when the moon's gravitational pull or the moon's gravity on Earth increases. This is a secondary factor in the occurrence of earthquakes, whether moderate or large, but it's not a main factor, just an assisting factor. If there was already seismic energy or tectonic stress in the area. Why am I saying this? Because we're entering the middle of the lunar month. I expect, and you can take this expectation with a 5 or 10% probability, predictions are always like that. We can't give it more than that percentage. I expect it to be between 5 and 10%. That within the next 3 days, within the next 72 hours, there could be a devastating earthquake that hits the land. A devastating earthquake that could reach a magnitude of 7 on the hazard scale, or even more than 7 on the Richter scale. As for the specific area or country where the earthquake will strike first, only God knows, because it's hard to determine, but there are some indicators. Sometimes it tells you, it makes it clear that there is tectonic stress, it's obvious in the ground, there is pressure, there are seismic faults, seismic lines, fault lines, there is something. And entering the middle of the lunar month will help by a percentage of 5 to 10% in an earthquake occurring in the area. The destructive earthquake and the release of this seismic energy through a very strong or destructive earthquake. Alright, our constant fear is of an earthquake happening. If a destructive earthquake occurs on land, it will cause destruction to the infrastructure, homes, and institutions. But in some countries, we know that their buildings are well constructed. And their buildings and homes are designed according to earthquake-resistant standards. An earthquake, like in Japan, because Japan is actually located on the Ring of Fire. The Ring of Fire means it's one of the countries that naturally has seismic activity. There is hardly a day or hardly a week without an earthquake or a tremor happening in that area, but it doesn't always mean a very strong earthquake. This area is the Ring of Fire region in the Pacific Ocean. In general, earthquakes between 3 and 5 are very common there. What scares us is the destructive earthquake if it happens on land. So the issue is limited to material and human losses and people don't die. We've come to realize it's not the earthquake itself. What really kills people is the destruction that happens. The houses people live in are what kill them because they collapse and get destroyed while people are inside. What scares me more is if the earthquake happens in the sea, if the earthquake happens there, and that's where I get worried. Huge tsunami waves and things like that, and sometimes these waves, the tsunami waves, are massive. They cause more casualties than the destruction of houses caused by the earthquake. Throughout history, they say that if tsunami waves reach and the earthquake's epicenter is close to land, they are the ones that cause the highest number of deaths. The closest example of this topic, if we want to talk about it, is to see how tsunami waves form. And they say, if the epicenter of the destructive earthquake is in the sea, it causes tsunami waves, whether it's a first wave, then a second wave, then another second wave, maybe closer. If we want to give an example and see the moments of tsunami wave formation, maybe that's the closest example for us. There was a tsunami, specifically during the earthquake and tsunami in Indonesia in 2018, when a 7.5 magnitude earthquake on the Richter scale hit Sulawesi Island, specifically near the city of Palu, and caused tsunami waves. Even your land shook. This is one of the rare clips, and those who record these clips capture the very first moments. Tsunami waves reach several meters in height. The dangerous thing is that it wasn't just the tsunami waves that reached several meters, but another phenomenon occurred at the same time called soil liquefaction. What is soil liquefaction that accompanies tsunami waves? First of all, the number of victims in this earthquake was between 5,000 and 10,000 people. No one knows the exact number, but tsunami waves were formed as a result. Of course, these clips you're seeing are the beginning tsunami waves and their entry onto land, but usually these devastating earthquakes and the occurrence of tsunami waves are accompanied by the phenomenon of soil liquefaction. Because when the water rushes in strongly through the tsunami waves, it seeps deep into the soil and it increases the pressure on the soil, meaning that wherever there are small gaps in the soil, instead of air filling those gaps, water takes its place. And when the pressure increases, a solid mass turns into a liquid mass. It used to be solid, cohesive soil, and suddenly it turns into a muddy, clay-like substance. And this is actually what caused entire neighborhoods to collapse in Indonesia in 2018 as well. One of the examples that we remember is the earthquake and tsunami in Japan in 2011, specifically when the earthquake in Japan struck with a magnitude of 9.1 on the Richter scale near Tohoku, and it was recorded in history as the Great Tohoku Earthquake and Tsunami of 2011 with a magnitude of 9.1 on the Richter scale, and it caused massive destruction. I mean, they say this is the strongest earthquake in the history of Japan in general, and the third strongest earthquake in the world since records began. The third strongest earthquake in the world. And it struck the sea, and the nearest point on land to the center of the devastating earthquake was 70 kilometers away. We will also start to see the first moments in these clips of the tsunami waves occurring, the actual formation of the tsunami waves in Japan near Tohoku. Did you see how the pier was visible and then disappeared because of the water? Was there a pier? It was visible and then disappeared because of the water in the first moments of the tsunami waves arriving. That's why I wanted to show you these clips so you can see what the tsunami waves look like, or the first moments of the formation of these waves. One of the most dangerous things that happened in 2011 during the earthquake and tsunami was the nuclear leak that occurred at the Fukushima nuclear plant. When the tsunami waves hit, they caused the cooling systems at the Fukushima nuclear plant to fail. And you know what happens when the cooling systems at a nuclear plant fail? The core of the nuclear reactor melts down, and that's exactly what happened. This meltdown led to a nuclear leak, and it was a disaster. It's considered one of the worst radioactive contamination disasters in history. Of course, the number of victims at the time in Japan was estimated to be around 18,000 people, and some say it was actually more than 18,000. There are reports and news that say the number reached up to 30,000 people. Of course, that's not counting the damage, unfortunately, caused by the nuclear leak or the radioactive leak. God willing, these 3 days will pass. Hopefully everything will turn out fine, but this episode is necessary. Maybe this prediction, whether it's 5 or 10%, will happen like this. I'm with you, Ahmad Al-Dira, and take care. The Wasiyad Blue program is fine.